We'd like to welcome everybody out to Surprise We Both Love Movies. Today we're going to be reviewing a movie from Hulu called Palm Springs, starring both Andy Samberg and Kristen Milotti.
Starts out with Andy Samberg's character. He's at a wedding and he's just there as a visitor, as a guest, and you get to see him mingling with people. And he seems to have this like air of confidence, like almost like everything like is he knows, like he has a sense of like, yeah, I'm in control. I know what's going on during this. And you see him kind of mingling and talking to people, and he's doing things that are very uncomfortable. And you start to watch him and you realize that he's just kind of going through this wedding and he's having a good time. And he starts talking to somebody, then he meets the main character.
I'm Sarah.
Niles.
Hi.
Hi.
Tries to kind of talk her up and starts a little something, and he goes off with her for a little bit, and he seems to almost have this sense of like, like he knows something that the audience doesn't know. They get out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden somebody's after him, and he runs away. He runs into this cave, and that's when the chaos starts, and you kind of realize what this movie is. And I won't give it away because it's a big part of the comedy, but he runs into a cave. The girl runs in and follows him, and then the comedy and the film kind of converge on this idea that we've seen in other movies, but it's unique. And I don't want to take that away from you guys as an audience, but it provides a lot of insight as to what goes on in your life, and what's happiness and what is joy, and how do you make the most of your life. And I thought it was a really interesting way of doing that. What did you think about this movie?
I was pleasantly surprised by the movie. I mean, we got two people basically headline the film. It was Andy Samberg and this girl Kristen Milotti, who I'd never seen before. She was new. I've never seen her in anything. She carried her part really well. I laughed a lot during this movie, and I didn't expect to. I saw the trailer. The trailer looked interesting, but I didn't think I was going to laugh because I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a big comedy guy. But they had some really twisted, funny stuff in this. Now, what I didn't like was all the sexual stuff. I think it was unnecessary for the story, and really, the opening sequence was very crude. It was completely unnecessary for the movie. I don't think it helped the film at all. It almost made me want to turn it off. And there were little things throughout. That was the only thing that really bothered me. And there was a ton of language too, especially in the first half of the film. It was like every other word was, the F word, which gets kind of grating after a time. But if you can get past that and you can sit there and watch, about 30 minutes into the movie, it gets freaking hilarious. When both of these individuals find out that they're in a, basically a Groundhog Day situation, hilarity ensues. And there are some really good montages that really did make me laugh. They were truly funny. I didn't like how it ended. Well, I wouldn't say I didn't like how it ended. I thought the ending was the weakest part of the film.
Wow.
Because they had, in a situation like this, they have to wrap it up.
They do.
And they wrapped it up. I like the idea behind it. How it was executed, maybe not as much. But the overall idea of the film was there, and it was really good. It was kind of an updated version of Groundhog Day, and
I like to say that this movie is more like a combination of Wedding Crashers and Groundhog's Day mixed together is kind of the feel. If you enjoy those, either one of those movies independently or together, you're going to enjoy this. And if you like Andy Samberg, if you like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, if you enjoyed Hot Rod, or if you enjoyed any of his other movies that he's done, if you have that trifecta of those three things, check it out. It's going to be funny. You're right. There's a little crude comedy. There's some, things that probably for me where I was like, that really didn't need to be in there as well. But if you can get past that, there's some really funny scenes. It's very well written. It's definitely one of those things that has some duality to it. So it's not just a comedy. It's not just, a movie. It's not just a film. It's able to blend those three things, I thought, very well. Usually you don't see that in a comedy, but they were able to pull it off.
No. And I want to talk a little bit about the cast here, though, because, they had J.K. Simmons was in here as well as Roy. And I got to tell you, I thought he was the funniest thing in the movie. Roy, when Roy comes into play, it's really funny. In fact, there's one scene where Andy Samberg goes to see Roy and has to get back to the other side of town rather quickly, and how he decides to do it was really freaking funny. So I really enjoyed his character in there. The other guy that's in here that people may recognize and actually surprised me a lot was a guy named Tyler. I don't know if it's Hoechlin or Hoechlin. I don't know how you say his last name, but I recognized him because I watch a lot of DC shows on the CW, and he started showing up as Superman a couple of years ago on the CW shows. And he does a great job as Superman. Well, when I was watching those, I was shocked to find out he was actually the kid in The Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks. He was the little boy. And to see him as the little boy and then see him as Superman, it's like, where did the time go? Because the movie didn't seem like it got released that long ago. But he's starting to pop up in a lot of different projects recently. So I think he's going to have a big career, you know, on his plate. I think he's in his mid-20s, and he's starting to show up in a lot of places. So I think he's going to be someone to watch going forward. I think he's going to have a very good career if he plays his cards right, because he's a very likable character on screen.
All right. We'll see if Aaron said it first.
Yeah, we'll find out. All right. So what would you give this as a rating?
All right. So as a comedy and as a movie, I gave it a 7. It wasn't the funniest movie I saw all year, but it was a very solid comedy. It made me laugh several times throughout it. It was witty. Yep. It was unconventional. It didn't feel like it was, your standard, jokes. It was fresh, is what I would say. It was a fresh movie, and it was good. So I gave it a 7 as a movie. As a film, like I said, surprisingly, I rarely give comedies a film score, but you can actually watch this movie. Probably if we were a little bit younger, I'd say like in our 20s or 30s, it might be more applicable, but it still resonates even if you're older, because it really tries to make you think about, what you get out of life. Do you get what you give? What makes you happy? What are your goals? What is it that you want? What's important? It's able to do those and be funny at the same time. And that's rare. So I was able to give this movie as a film a 7 out of 10. So double 7s in this situation. What about you?
Very nice. I think I enjoyed it more as a comedy than you did. I gave it just one more. I gave it an 8.
Okay.
For me, a lot of when I like something, it also has to do with the actual where it's taking place.
Okay.
I like the desert scenario. I like seeing the pool out in the middle of the desert, the crystal blue water. I'm an island fanatic, and so it kind of resonated with me. It seemed like a very clean film. Like I really liked how it was filmed and the scenery and the cinematography. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It made it more intimate. Mm-hmm. So I gave it as a comedy, I gave it an 8. It's one of the better comedies I've seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. Not perfect. Like I said, the ending falters a little bit. Otherwise, I might have bumped it up to a 9. Wow. As a film, I have to agree with you. I'd probably give it a 6. I mean, there is definitely some rewatchability in it. It's something I would revisit again, and I think you can pick up more, when you know what's going on as you see their intentions. Yeah, you could go back and see this in a whole different light. So there is something to be gained even after the first showing. Like I said, the crude stuff in it really turned me off, and it didn't fit the rest of the movie because the movie wasn't like that. Mm-hmm. It was a lot more innocent, but a solid film all the way around. So yeah, I give it an 8 as a comedy, 6 as a film.
Yeah, this is rare. This is like one of the few times that we're like pretty spot on on something movie and a film for both of our movie reviews. So that was pretty interesting. Wow, lightning strikes this week.
So I do want to mention what we're going to do for next week's episode. I want people to be prepared for this. So next week, we actually decided we're going to assign the other person 2 comedies that they haven't seen to watch. I'm not going to say what they are today, but you're going to want to tune in next week to find out which 2 I have Lamont watch and which 2 he had me watch. So that's going to be a fun episode.
So that's all for this week, you guys. Thank you guys for watching and following us on YouTube and Facebook and listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So until next week, I'm Lamont.
I'm Aaron.
And we'll see you guys later.